We'll see how it, at the end of this concert, you will have heard almost all of the songs I've written over the years that I feel are appropriate to this audience, and some that may not be. So, but I'm going to start, and you will hear in this concert, you will hear some you've already heard, including the first one. But this one really goes out to the people who just moved here in the past few months, because you have downsized recently, and I know what that was like. I was looking ahead at it back in 2007 when I wanted to get out of my house, which was in bad shape. And I just woke up in the night at 3 o'clock in the morning and imagined how hard it would be to get out of my starter ranch, but had a full basement, an attic, a shed, and 5 closets. And how was I going to downsize, particularly with the children that I had. So this is called Toys in the Attic, the solution I came up with. I've lived in my house since the late 1960s. The children grew up and they went separate ways. The carpets are worn and the furniture's musty. Like me and my friends, they have seen better days. I'm ready to downsize and move to a condo with a pool in the clubhouse and singles galore. But first I must deal with my surplus possessions, the things that the children insist that I store. There are toys in the attic and tools in the cellar. There are books in the closets and bikes in the shed. The children won't take them, but they say I must keep them. I fear I am going to go out of my head. I found a solution. I'll take all the silver, some photos I cherish, and steal out of town. There's a fellow named Harry, they call him the Torch, and while I am away, he will burn the house down. I met up with Harry and gave him some money. I promised the rest when the deed it was done. But the coppers got wind of our evil intent, and now Harry and I are a band on the run. So all you grown children, pay heed to my story. Take your papers and charge keys while there is still time. Don't pressure your parents till they come to their wits' end. Don't drive your dear mother to traffic and crime. There were toys in the attic and tools in the cellar. There were books in the closets and bikes in the shed. The kids wouldn't take them, but they said I must keep them. Your Honor, I simply went out of my head. Okay, so this next song is in fact the one song I wrote since I was last up here. And of course, it's in a different key, and of course, I'll have to tune again. It's the one song, it's really an anti-ageism song, but you know, as Stephen Colbert said after the State of the Union, he said everyone's making a big to-do about Biden's age, but as Biden looked out at the Senate, he might as well have been at an open casket convention. So, in fact, we are ruled by folks that are only slightly younger than we are, and older in some cases than some of you. This is really about, not about other, well, it is about other people counting people out on account of their age, but it's also on us counting ourselves out. It's called Don't Count Us Out. And it does have a chorus here which is singable if you get it. The last time I sing it, as is so often the case with me, I change a couple words, so you have to drop out at the last line. But if you want to sing along with me, fine. And if you don't, that's also fine, especially if you can't sing. Okay. When we were young, we listened to our elders. They said, don't act too clever for your age. We mastered all our numbers and our letters and waited for our turn upon the stage. Don't count us out, we still have things we need to say. Don't count us out, though we are bald or white or gray. Don't count us out, we do not plan to fade away. Don't count us out, don't count us out, don't count us out. Now some of us grew up to fight in battle, and some of us protested against the war. But afterwards we mostly came together, found peace was what we all were yearning for. Don't count us out, we still have things we need to say. Don't count us out, though we are bald or white or gray. Don't count us out, we do not plan to fade away. Don't count us out, don't count us out, don't count us out. The years they've just flown by, it's been 210, and here we are today, divided once again. Some say the world is spinning into chaos. We see it on our channels every night. But we who've been through struggles and survived them should be among the ones to set things right. Don't count us out, we still have things we need to say. Don't count us out, though we are bald or white or gray. Don't count us out, we do not plan to fade away. Don't count us out, don't count us out, don't count us out. Don't count us out, we still have things we need to say. Don't count us out, though we are bald or white or gray. Don't count us out, we simply must not fade away. Don't count us out, don't count us out, don't count us out. I don't think there are too many folks here who are fading away. Of course, one does, one way or another, but you can. There was a woman, I was someone who protested the war in Iraq, and the war in Vietnam, I just finished the Fletcher School not too long before, so I was all about the domino theory. I didn't protest the war in Vietnam until way at the end. I finally got with the program. But where was I going? Now, where was I going with that? I know I was going somewhere with that. I may not remember. Anyway, whatever. The one reason I have to have my music up here is because I'm not famous, and you don't. If I lose track of what I'm singing, you won't be able to get out your phones and help me, which I've seen people do with older folk singers. I was going some. Oh, I know. I enjoyed protesting, but I have no idea. I really have no idea where I was going with that. So anyway, forget about it. That'll come up later. So this next song is totally different. This is a song I wrote this summer. I started writing songs after I went to a music camp for a week in the summer, and each summer for many summers, 20 summers eventually, or close to that. And I started with the guitar and voice and performance, and I wasn't really improving a whole lot. Most people were younger than I by a good deal. So I decided to try songwriting, and I liked it. I seemed to be able to do it. So the next summer I came back and said, okay, now I want to learn to write a blues. So my wonderful teacher, Bob Franke, gave me some clues on that, and I sang that first blues at my first concert here. And so then I wrote this blues, which it's not really a blues, it's a song about being able to write a blues. It's pretty silly, but people seem to like it, so I do it. The thing about the blues is you are blue, so you write the blues, and then you feel good, but you're still a blues woman or a blues man. So. I was trapped in my life, stuck in a rut, couldn't connect because my heart was tight shut. I had the blues girl blues. I had the blues girl blues. I had the blues girl blues. I was a blues girl all the time. So I picked up the phone, grabbed my guitar, went to a place where every woman's a star. I brought my blues girl blues. I brought my blues girl blues. I brought my blues girl blues. I was a blues girl all the time. Play blues, wrote me a song, forgot all my troubles and the people done me wrong. I lost my blues girl blues. I lost my blues girl blues. Lost my blues girl blues, but I'm a blues girl all the time. Now I wake up in the morning, it's in my head. Been at the office, even riffing in the bed. I got the blues girl blues. Got the blues girl blues. The blues girl blues, I am a blues girl all the time. So if you want to be happy, here's what you do. Grab a guitar and be a blues girl too. And here's your blues girl blues. Here's your blues girl blues. Here's your blues girl blues, but be a blues girl all the time. All right, so this next song I wrote about 3 years later, and as I explained in my first concert, that I sang this song for you then called "The Last Bad Date," and that took place in about 2001. I was widowed, for those who don't know, when I was only 49, and after a period of just plain grieving, I decided I did not want to be alone the rest of my life, so I went out to see if I could find a new romance, and I found a number, but they weren't lasting. They weren't meant to last. What can I say? And that would mean going back on the dating platforms. First it was newspapers and personal ads, and then eventually it was Match.com, and then there was a mixer, and everything brought somebody up out of the depths, wherever. My daughter gave me this little frog that say you've got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince. But the last bad date was nothing horrific. It lasted 20 minutes, but it was just not. And I said, that's it, I'm done. And I wrote that song in 2001. So in 2008, I was still in that frame of mind. But I had lots to fill up my life, including the music camp, and I by then had 2 grandkids, and I was running back and forth to New York to see them. And then this song I wrote when I was running down from Massachusetts to Tennessee to see an old friend and some friends in just right across the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina. And it's called Freedom Is, as you all know, because you all are reading ahead and you don't even need to listen to it. Okay. And in those days, let me see. Oh my God, it's drop D. Sorry, folks. Right? You got that? Okay. Let's see. Sounds good. I don't think I had the iPhone with the voice. I know I didn't have an iPhone with the voice memo, so I had to stop whenever I thought of a line and go to an overlook on the Blue Ridge Mountain Drive or whatever and write that down so I wouldn't forget. So this is Freedom Is. Oops. Freedom is a broccoli that just won't quit. You have it twice for supper, then you're tired of it. You put it in the freezer and you let it sit. I don't really like it like that, but I can go to see the grandkids when I feel the need. Drive a little faster than the posted speed. Stay up half the night because I want to read. What's not to like about that? Freedom, freedom, not a ticket to heaven nor a ticket to hell. Freedom, freedom. What is wrong here? Freedom, freedom, My relatives and friends all say I'm doing swell. Freedom, freedom. It's kinda lonely, but I never dwell, and sometimes I like it like that. I trap the mouse and then I kill the monster bug. Fix a leaky toilet, then I caulk the tub. There's no one there to turn to when I need a hug. I don't really like it like that. But then I have a fender bender and it hurts my purse. And I'm thinking that my driving has become a curse. At least there's no one home who'll make it feel much worse. What's not to like about that? Freedom, freedom. Not a ticket to heaven or a ticket to hell. Freedom, freedom. My relatives and friends all say I'm doing swell. Freedom, freedom. It's kinda lonely, but I never dwell, and sometimes I like it like that. On rainy days it's nice when you can just sleep in. Of course it's even nicer lying skin to skin, but if it's not a long-term partner it can feel like sin. I don't really like it like that. So when I go to dinner with a guy into a play, and afterwards he tells me he would like to stay, I tell him when it's time for him to go away. What's not to like about that? Freedom, freedom. Not a ticket to heaven or a ticket to hell. Freedom, freedom. My relatives and friends all say I'm doing swell. Freedom, freedom. It's kinda lonely, but I never dwell, and sometimes I like it like that. I did not choose to become so free. My fate was cast by the deity. But as lifestyles go, it's okay with me. It better be. If I sound a little brittle, well, that's not quite true. I'd really like a grand romance to see me through. But meantime, I'm in charge of everything I do. What's not to like about that? Freedom, freedom. It's a taste of heaven and a taste of hell. Freedom, freedom. Feels like I'm swinging from the Liberty Bell. Freedom, freedom. It's kinda lonely, but it suits me well. And sometimes I like it like that. I saved some of my edgier songs for this concert, since you know me and I know you, and it's okay. And they can't turn me out. So actually, it's interesting that I wrote that song in the spring of 2008 because that was a banner year for me. My luck changed in a lot of ways. First of all, I bought a bike. I sang the song Living Well at my first concert, about how suddenly things got a lot more interesting in the year 2008. And then I got involved in politics through the anti-war thing, which turned out to be something I like to do. Not just protest, but all that boring stuff like knocking on doors. And then the other thing that happened is I met somebody. And this was someone I had already known years ago, who'd been a neighbor and had moved away long ago. And now he was alone as well. So we had 2 very nice years together. And I wrote about him. And you've heard some of those songs, First Date. And in the Living Well song, I remember I mentioned someone parachuting into my life. But then, sadly, he passed away after a couple of years from an infection. It was one of those things that shouldn't have happened. And so I grieved a lot, not like 22-year marriage, 22-year, this relationship, but I still did. And in fact, the day after he passed away, I started a song called Lament for Dave. And I think what I'm describing here is something many of you can relate to, which is you think you're doing fine, and then there's a sudden temporary upsurge of grief, which they now have an acronym for, STUG. which is as ugly as it sounds as ugly as it is, but it's just part of the grieving process. So that's what this is about. A lovely day in every way, then suddenly I think of you. Your smiling face, your warm embrace, and all at once my mood is blue. We met so late, it seemed like fate. We didn't waste our time on tears. I slowed the pace, I took some space. I thought we had a few more years. I loved your smile, your classy style, the manners of a gentleman. The sky is blue, I'm missing you. I'll never see that smile again. You were a mensch among men, giving in so many ways. Your son and your brother, your friends and your lover, we bask in the warmth of your gaze. And now you're gone, and I'm alone. I think of all the plans we made. I'll keep on traveling on my own, but never let your memory fade. I'll never let your memory fade. He loved the fact that I wrote songs. We made our first date at a Peggy Seeger concert, ironically, my old friend. And the time we had the date, which was like a week later, I realized from my CD Baby account he had bought my first CD with The Last Bad Date on it. So he knew that he would be memorialized, but not in a way that... Okay, so this next song is a ballad. I'm trying to figure out what... Oh yeah, here we go. Trying to figure out what key I played in. This is actually a family history song. And, you know, my tendency to tell all does extend to my family. The only person I haven't written about is my son, because he's a singer-songwriter, and he could write a song about me. So, but this one is about people I actually didn't ever know. They were my great-grandparents, my mother's father's parents. And they were each from different parts of the German-speaking world. There was no Germany then. It was in the late 1860s. Germany became Germany in 1872. And the person I call Hannah here, whose name was Babette, but I needed a trochee. I needed Dada. I couldn't have Dada, so she became Hannah. If you're a poet, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, she came from Bavaria, from a fairly, I think, bourgeois family. But Magnus came from Prussia, and he was not very bourgeois at all. And then Anton was Hannah's brother. She came over as his housekeeper. So they were both young people, single. And he did not like Magnus at all from the get-go, which was understandable for a lot of reasons. Because Magnus, as you'll see, came from a different world. What is going on here? And now the funny thing about this story is that the story is the story my mother told me about her grandparents. And presumably it's a story her father told her about his parents. But it turns out that was by no means all of the story, because my son did a deep dive into the internet. And after I finish the song, I will tell you more about Magnus, and you might change your mind about it. Anyway. Ooh. And Anton was a merchant, an ambitious man was he. To make his fortune he set sail across the bounding sea. He settled in Ohio, Sister Hannah by his side. She'd cook and clean and care for him until he'd found a bride. Magnus was a gambler, a new life he also sought, but a violin and a pack of cards were all the gambler brought. One day an ornery rented mare threw Magnus to the street. In front of wealthy Anton's house and Hannah he did meet. She brought him in and nursed his wounds, and soon their hearts were one. And try as Anton might, this bond could not then be undone. With Agnes, well, the two moved out, and she became his wife, to share the mighty gamble of a newly wedded life. Sorry. This is just not acceptable. I have to stop. See what I mean? That's really bad. Nursed his wounds, and soon their hearts were one. And try as Anton might, this bond could not then be undone. With Magnus, well, the two moved out, and she became his wife, to share the mighty gamble of a newly wedded life. They had a little boy named Joe, my granddad he would be. And then great uncle Fred was born to join the family tree. Now Magnus was a clever man, but cards were all he knew. And as they moved from town to town, he found the bottle too. Sometimes it was to smoky bars that Magnus' craving led. One night he got into a fight, the other man lay dead. And though he hadn't started it, our Magnus got a year. The only place for Hannah then was Anton's, it was clear. The boys by then were 4 and 6, for Magnus they did yearn. And Hannah too looked forward to the time of his return. But Anton, as a prosperous man, was given custody, and Magnus had to steal him back when he at last was free. From state to state the family fled, but they were bound to lose. The sheriff finally captured them, and Hannah had to choose. With Magnus she could stay, but then her children never see, or go instead with Joe and Fred to Anton's family. The bonds of motherhood won out, and with her son she went, while Magnus moved to New York town and doleful letters sent. The boys grew up and made their way, spite memories of shame. They learned some things from Anton, yet they kept their father's name. My granddad ran a clothing store and played by all the rules, but poker winnings let him send his girls to fancy schools. My mom became a writer, she passed this tale along, and I, as great-granddaughter, now have turned it into song. I see no moral to this tale, unless it's simply this, that blind young love like Hannah's may not lead to lasting bliss. But had she never gambled, and with Magnus gone away, I'd not be here to sing this song to all of you today. All right, so now I'm going to read what we found out, my son and I. First of all, I read a little squib. I did some research, and I got this. Magnus Josephi had a row with a drayman named Middleton in Marion, Grant County, the other day, in which the latter man was killed. Josephi came near being lynched and is now in custody.
Can you speak up a little bit louder?
Would other people have that? Can I get one of these closer, maybe?
I'll turn it up a little.
Okay, I'll lean over to it too. Magnus Josephi had a row with a drayman named Middleton in Indiana the other day, in which the latter man was killed. Josephi came near being lynched and is now in custody. But then this, from the end, I had heard the story my mother told, that he got a year for manslaughter because no one knew who started it, but that's not exactly true. From annual reports of the officers of the state of Indiana, Magnus Josephi was convicted in court of the crime of manslaughter and sentenced in November 1874 to be imprisoned for the term of 3 years. Can you hear? Better? 3 years, not 1. Pardoned November 1875 and released from confinement in the Indiana State Prison North. Decision by the governor is as follows. Thomas A. Hendricks, he states, according to the evidence in this case, I think the prisoner should have been acquitted. He went to see the deceased about hauling some beer kegs from the depot. The deceased at once commenced to quarrel with him. The prisoner protested that he wanted no trouble or difficulty. The deceased attacked him, striking several blows with the heavy end of a wagoner's black snake whip. The prisoner shot him. It was a case of self-defense, and the verdict should have been acquittal. Now here's the weird part. Judge Slack, who tried the case, asks that he be pardoned. Also 6 of the jury. The other juries could not be seen. 2 are dead, 3 have removed, and 1 resides at a distance. The deputy prosecuting attorney, sheriff, and a number of citizens also recommend his pardon. Now this is weird, right? The prisoner has been in prison under his sentence about 1 year, and prior to his trial, he was in jail about 5 months. I think he should be pardoned upon another ground. Whilst he was in jail, awaiting his trial, a number of desperate characters were also in jail. 2 for murder, 2 upon the charges of assault and battery with intent to murder, and others for grand larceny. They conspired to force an escape, a part of their plan being to kill the sheriff. They had sawed the iron bars of the corridor so as to be ready to carry out their purpose the next day. The prisoner would not join the conspiracy. They threatened to kill him if he should make their purpose known. That evening, he succeeded in giving the sheriff a note informing him of the conspiracy, whereby the sheriff was enabled to defeat the purpose upon his life and the escape of the criminals. Since then, all the parties have been tried and convicted upon the charges against them. As a reward for his good conduct and to promote prison discipline, it is proper that he be pardoned. The pardon is granted. Now, don't you think it's strange that that story didn't get passed down? I think it's Anton who really had it in for this guy. And maybe my grandfather, who was only 6, when all this happened, when his father was part, maybe he was never told himself. You think his father would have told him, or maybe he forgot, or who knows what. And my grandfather actually ran away from this when he was about 16. Anton had 3 sons, and then there was Joe and Fred, his nephews who lived with them. And my grandfather couldn't stand his uncle, I guess. And so he got on a steamboat and went up the river to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, population 4,000, where there were several stores, all owned by the one Jewish family in town. There were 2 brothers. And they took Joe in. All my family were Jewish. The other 3, by the way, Orthodox Jewish men who had between them 25, the other great-grandfathers, 25 children between them. 1 was a rabbi, 1 was a peddler's outfitter, 1 was a shopkeeper. So they were, different. Anyway, and he eventually met their niece, who was my grandmother, and married her instead of any one of their daughters, which I think they had in mind. The other little tidbit I got out of this is, according to one source, Governor Herrick, who eventually became vice president under Cleveland, as a Northern Democratic politician in the 1860s to 1880s, his political contribution was essentially conservative, attempting to fend off and hold back the revolutionary measures of war and Reconstruction periods. So according to woke culture, of which I am a part, he was part of this conspiracy that black people would not become equal, actually, in the United States. So I wouldn't have voted for him, but I don't think. Who knows? I wouldn't have voted because I wouldn't have had the vote. Times change. Okay, so my next song, moving right along. Do we need a pause here for you to rewind? Okay. This is being videotaped. No, no pressure. Okay, so now we will attempt to get in tune once again. This is a song that I wrote in 2018, and it does have a gun in it, but it's a ghost gun, guns that are created with 3D printers, so it's called 3D printer gun. And in 2012, this guy named Cody Wilson, who was an avowed anarchist and gun rights enthusiast, started posting diagrams of guns that you could make on a 3D printer. And the State Department was sufficiently alarmed by this. They apparently have some clout when it comes to what gets guns that get manufactured in this country, that they have them banned. And then when the next administration came along, the ban was lifted. And then there was a court fight after I wrote this song, and the ban was Cody Wilson lost that one. He eventually went to jail on domestic violence charges, but he never went to, nothing bad happened to him as a result of the ghost gun idea. Okay. I don't know. I've always had this brand of tuner, and now I'm not so fond of it anymore. Okay, let's see. My garden is a shambles from the chipmunks and the voles. The bunnies eat my lettuce, my lawn is full of holes. There's sprays and traps and other stuff, I bet I've tried a ton. But what would really do the trick is an automatic gun. Alas, I cannot buy one, cause my record isn't clean. I did a stupid thing once when I was feeling mean, but now there is an answer for felons just like me. A guy has posted diagrams for all the world to see. I'll buy a 3D printer, some special plastics too. Then take my pick of downloads, I think there's quite a few. There's an automatic rifle, it's like an AK-47. I'll print it out in triple D and send my voles to heaven. And I know I'll feel much safer when I can stand my ground with a snazzy plastic rifle that fires round after round. How about you, my friends and foes? Would you feel safer too? From garden pests and canvassers who got you feeling blue. Just pick yourself a weapon and print it in 3D, and we can live forevermore in jolly anarchy. So thank you, Cody Wilson, for your 3D printed gun. I'm gonna get that diagram and have myself some fun. And when I'm feeling threatened by some stranger at my door, why, I'll just grab my gun and he won't bother me no more. Yes, I'll just grab my gun and he won't bother me no more. I think the Garden Club should consider that. I mean, we worry about the deer, don't we? You know, but I love the deer. So, okay, so that was your. I go sort of on the manic depressive line with my song. I didn't make that idea up. My goodness, I just suddenly heard myself for the first time. Eliza Gilkerson, who's a singer that I admire a lot, she said that's basically, she takes you on a roller coaster ride, and I think I do too a little bit. This next song is a sad-ish one. It's a serious one, I would say. I wrote it upon the passing of the death of my 97-year-old mother-in-law. She had 96 good years, and 10 of them were in a place like this. And she was in independent living, I think, for certainly 95 years, maybe then assisted, and then the last one was the nursing, where she wasn't not doing so well. But when she passed, I was sad nonetheless. And her son had already died years before, which was a great tragedy of her life. And her daughter lived in Western Mass, so we two were the mainstays of her life, really. She did have a relationship with my grandson Max, who was about 5 when she died, 4. And she got to see the other grandson, Sam, so that was nice. They were the only ones. But after she died, this song came to me. I'm free at last of certain chores. The price was very dear. Another person whom I loved has gone away from here. I turn the ringer off at night. No need to heed the phone. I plan vacations, weekend trips. My time is all my own. Husband, mother, father, brother, in-laws one by one. For each in turn, I vigil kept until their lives were done. Along with mourning came relief, their pain was at an end. Then this bleak thought, will I be next to others must attend. Now I've said it, I'll forget it, glad to be alive, to join in family celebrations, watch my children thrive. And when my last days finally come, I'll wish their burdens light, and pray for wings to fly me swiftly into that good night. Moving here was part of that plan. So indeed, I've watched my children thrive and dive and, go up and down the way life is, and also my grandkids. But before that, 2 years before that event, my older grandson turned 2, and that was when, for some reason, with both him and with his younger brother, I found compelled to write a song about how absolutely fabulous they were. So this one, the other one I already sang for you, that was Calypso Sam. Sam, Sam, little man, you know what you want and you do what you can. This one I hadn't sung yet because it's more personal. It's more boring things, like the names of all his, aunts and uncles and that, but that's only a part of it. And if you've had a little grandson or grandnephew or whatever, you might be able to relate. It's a very little boy. Now he's a young man in his junior year of college. That happens, how they go. But all the things he loved, or many of the things he really liked the best, had long proboscises, or they had horns, or what can I tell you? Freud would know, anyway. But that's in there. My grandson is peremptory. Make tunes, he says to me. So I take out my old Alvarez and see what tunes there be. Shall I sing about a walrus with his tusks so fierce and strong? Or shall I sing of elephants with trunks extremely long? Of dolphins who cavort and play? Or shall I sing of Max, who loves them all? The dog that barks, the mouse, the duck that quacks. I shall sing of Max, a prince who's only 2 years old. Yet he commands a retinue of women, I am told. The first of these is Robin, she is mommy, she's the best. Then there's Mabel, Peg, and Rita, Auntie Jane, and all the rest. He loves them well, these women who give kisses, eggs, and toast. But someday there'll be someone else whom he will love the most. And what about the men with Max would emulate someday? Well, Daddy Joe tops off the list, that's easy for to say. Then there's Uncle Steve called Beep Beep, who makes music for his ears. And Uncles Jeff and Jerry are to others he reveres. Like them, when he gets big, he'll do a thing or two or more. And he may find his dreams have wings, and upwards he will soar. So let us sing a song of Max, a boy chick of renown, who's growing up so fast he's going to dominate the town. He'll have books and friends and talents, many strings on which to bow, and countries far to travel in, wild oats he'll want to sow. But right now he's as perfect as a little boy can be. So take your time, oh Max of mine, and play a while with me. So take your time, oh Max of mine, and stay a while with me. I was growing up, there was very little Yiddish in my home. My family was extremely assimilated. They said, you know, you're Jewish, that's very important. And then we celebrated Christmas and Easter. I've already sung that song. But as I got older, I began to relish a little more being Jewish instead of finding it a burden. And so I began to pepper my songs with Yiddish words that I picked up along the way. So boychik most of them are words that if you live in New York, you've heard anyway, like mensch. Mensch is a really good guy, you know. Boychik is a term of endearment. It's so funny because in some parts of the country that's not so. And I've been told that. Okay, this next song is probably my most controversial, in a sense, in my own head. I wrote it 10 years ago. And I actually have some concerns about myself with regard to my future and the future of my mind. But the way I deal with that is often with humor, the way I deal with any strong emotions. So I hope that this song, which is called Dottie Old Girl, does not offend. The first two sentences are ridiculous, but the last two sentences are not. So in the middle is a lot of hyperbole and nonsense. Anyway, how does this go? I'd rather not. Dottie, by the way, is an English word meaning not totally with it. I'd rather not be Dottie and in diapers. Sometimes I think I'd sooner die instead. So I do my puzzles taking go biloba and exercise by standing on my head. Well, I used to. I really like the life that I am living. But time, it just keeps knocking at my door. It gobbles up my pleasures, it eats them one by one, and then it comes right back and asks for more. Once I could swill tequila with abandon and dance a wild fandango with the best. I'd try cuisine from Mexico or Cuba, then put my lover's prowess to the test. But such delights are sadly far behind me. I ponder as I sip my decaf tea. It's hard without a doubt to plan an evening out when you are dairy, soy, and gluten-free. My friends, I'm not bereft. I cherish what is left. For living, I still have a healthy end. So after every loss, although I know time's boss, I ante up and play my cards again. I'd rather not be Dottie and in diapers, but now I see it coming down the pike. Search for names, for nouns, for keys, for glasses are symptoms that I very much don't like. I'll leave the other half to your imagining and end my tale of suffering with this plea that when I'm finally Dottie and in diapers, if you're still here, Oh, please be there for me. Thank you for that. I can't tell you how I agonized over whether I should include that or not. But honestly, I meant it. Anywhere. So the rest of these songs, fortunately, they're very mostly in the same key or close to it, so it's not going to be so excruciating. And these are ones you've heard before, and they're all about, again, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all about aging. Yes. And 2 of them I wrote while I was here, and the other 2 I wrote shortly before I came here. And so you probably remember them. Well, 2 of them you remember, the other 2 you wouldn't have. Where did I put... No, you would remember them because I played them, even though I wrote them before I came here. Anyway. Where did I put you, you earrings? I love you. Were there in my dresser last night. In a cute little box lined with cotton so soft. You were there when I turned out the light. Could it be that I left you alongside the tub or in my coat pocket instead? Pray, where are you hiding? Why can't I remember? What's this? Here you are on my bed. Oh joy, here you are on my bed. Now where are the keys that I hang on a hook every time that I enter the door? I set up this routine precisely because I'm misplacing my things more and more. The chances I find them are thankfully high, but the angst that I suffer is real. I've looked and I've looked, and I've asked at the desk, what's this I feel under my heel? There you are, on the floor by my heel. One could say it's because I am old, that the trail of lost objects grows cold. But I'm starting to think that this memory kink serves a purpose more precious than gold. For each little drama enlivens my life, which though pleasant and lacking in stress, unfolds day by day in predictable ways that can get a bit stale, I confess. Indeed, when I finally retrieve what I've lost, there's a letdown along with hooray. So when next I misplace, I will relish the chase, and I shan't let it ruin my day. No, I won't let it ruin my day. Every single day, there's something. I don't know about you guys. Okay, and this next one is about my friend over there, that little, and all the others in my closet in my car. Let's see. Walkers and canes, where would we be without walkers and canes? They slow down the traffic in hallways and stairs, get stuck in the doorway, fall under our chairs. But when we're unsteady, they answer our prayers. So thanks be for walkers and canes. Thanks be for walkers and canes. Love 'em or hate 'em, but don't you forget where you last stashed your cane when the table was set. Then the meal being over, you started to fret. Now where is my walker or cane? I could yearn for the things I can't do, like hiking and biking and such. But I'd much rather try something new, with a little assist from my crutch. Rat-a-tat cane down to supper I dart, but I have to admit I've a lust for a cart that will zip down the halls with no work on my part. Next step beyond walkers and canes. Walkers and canes, where would we be without walkers and canes? stuck in our rooms with our aches and our pains, counting our wrinkles and varicose veins like some miserable fetch who complains and complains. No, we'll open our doors and we'll throw off our chains and give thanks for our walkers and canes. Thanks for our walkers and canes. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you are. In fact, if you don't have a walker or a cane or a cart, I mean, there must be something wrong with you. Anyway, okay, so this next one, I think this may have sung this at my first concert too. By the way, are you remembering these songs that I sang before? But it doesn't bother you, okay. All right, so this one, I do have to go down one. I determined where I'm going to put the capo by the highest note that I have to sing and whether I can get there. And sometimes I have to change the key. And the highest note has gone down about a whole step, in the past few years. So now I'm a baritone, actually. If I were to sing in the Unitarian choir, which I'd love to do, I would be a baritone, not even a tenor. Maybe I'd be a tenor, I don't know. What do you think, Marie?
Tenor.
This is called Lipstick. Let's hear it for lipstick. Let's hear it for rouge. An ashen complexion can bring on the blues. Let's hear it for product and the right kind of brush that'll make hair look thicker for a flattering touch. Let's hear it for polish. Almost anything goes. Nothing perks up a Johnny like bright colored toes. Some folks prefer crimson, while others like blue. Whatever your choice, dear, make sure it is you. People will treat you better, even more when you're old, if they see you are trying, or so I am told. Let's not scare the horses, as my mother would say, nor the guy with the gurney who wheels you away from ER to X-ray. When you've taken a fall, look as good as you can, dear, as you glide down the hall. People will treat you better, even more when you're old, if they see you are trying, or so I am told. Here's for the guys. Let's hear it for close shaves or a neatly trimmed beard. Cleaning up for the public should never seem weird. A nice pair of Levi's nowadays is quite couth. Add a cap or your bald spot if you're long in the tooth. Now let's cheer for us oldsters, we who try to be chic, we who closet our sweatpants at least once a week, for the sake of our loved ones and folks we don't know. Most of all for ourselves, dears, we'll put on a show. Let's put on a show. And it's 8:30. I have one more song if you want to hear it. Yes. All right. I had it printed up because generally the encores weren't printed up and no one could understand them, or anyway. I do have to go up a couple of things here. This one you've heard as well, pretty sure. Probably pretty recently, actually, like maybe even last show, I don't know. But it had an encore-like quality to it. That's just not right. Okay, let's see how that goes. Okay. used to be. What's that you're saying? Are you talking to me? But when I cup my ears, I can hear you just fine. Haven't brought those age yet, haven't crossed that line. I'm a little bit shorter than I used to be. 4 inches shorter, that's a whole new me. I need a front row seat, can't see over the crowd. When my Sam gets a basket, that makes me proud. I'm a little bit wiser than I used to be. I'm finally learning it's not all about me. Now don't get me wrong, I still speak my mind, but I listen to now and I try to be kind. There are gains and losses as the world turns round, but I don't stay blue long, heck, I'm above the ground. So when you see me coming, speak loud and slow, and grab us a couple of seats in the very first row. Then we'll sit right back and we'll have some fun, 'cause we may be older, but we're not yet done. Yes, we may be older, but we sure ain't done. Thank you. Y'all sure aren't done. But I'm done tonight.
As usual, it was absolutely delightful. And as I said in my introduction, we can all relate to a lot of those songs. Could I implore that you do an encore?
No, you couldn't. I really don't have any more. That was really my encore.
What about one of the older ones?
No, they're all older. No, it was, and my leg is falling asleep here.
Okay. Well, thank you
Sorry.
anyway for a lovely evening.
Thank you. Oh, give me a fall. I need to write some more songs because you'll get tired of these. And I really have. Oh, well. Anyway, you're a great audience. I love you.